the pollinator garden that we've been setting up. So it's a series of different beds, so that these beds over here, this one has more shade, this one has a little bit more sun, that one is wet, and then along the roadway here we have another series of beds that this area is getting lots of sun, and then further over there is more shade. Alright, so again, this is papyrus. It's Egyptian papyrus, so that's what they use to make paper and boats. But it's also, we sell a lot of it to flower shops for arrangements. So people will use it in arrangements. So just within the garden here, there's lots of different plants that you can play with. We've used bromeliads, these purple ones on the bottom, all the different types of pines. They will actually hold water in their leaves. We just pulled some of these off some of our trees and just placed them down here, so now they'll start growing back up, but they have certain flowers. The vervines, or vervain, there's different varieties that you can get. So this one is more of a landscaping one that grows quite big. But we have two, and this one's foreign, but we have two other varieties that are indigenous that are used more medicinally, but they tend to grow smaller, so they don't get big like this.
Yellow flower.
That just came up as a weed.
No, well, I haven't given my garden. I want to know what it is.
Dan, you know what that is? This one? Dan's the man for this.
Roadside weeds that came up.
But
it's
you don't
indigenous.
Know what
You don't know the name offhand? Okay.
I left mine because I thought, well, somebody might use flowers.
Yeah, so a lot of these are just weeds that we've left that have come up. Yeah. But between the weeds we've planted like some of the cocoa lilies. There's something called rabbit's meat in the back there with the pink flower. Different things like that you can add in. And then again, things are seasonal. So this is the next vervine here. Again, this one tends to be medicinal. There is something eating the leaves, but yeah.
There's a little striking beetle that's...
This is the local one, medicinal.
Yeah.
And this is the DMETS, Centropogon.
Yes, that's a good one for that.
Yeah, good for hummingbird.
This one, DME.
Centropogon cornuta.
Centropogon.
Yeah.
Is it in the forest?
DME. Yeah. Centropogon cornuta.
Dan, that is what they call the lipstick plant, or lipstick plant or something?
No, the hot lips one is different.
No, not hot lips, lipstick plant.
Yeah, that's one of the common name ones.
For that as well?
Yeah.
Okay.
You have another, two other lipstick ones.
Right there's lots of different heliconias that were either planted here or we've brought in. So none of them are flowering right now, but at a certain point when they start flowering, they will have certain plants, certain hummingbirds that come to them. Along the edge here we have a type of ginger that makes a white flower that has a very nice scent. It likes wet conditions, so it's along the edge of the pond. And then in the pond itself, there's papyrus, and then on the front end of the pond, there's the pickerel rushes. So we just put them in, but they get all the purple flowers, and we have a white variety as well. Right? In the vervines, the wild ones, you just tend to get purple, but in the bigger vervines like that, you'll get them in pink and red as well, in case you want different colors. Right? And then we don't have all the signage. We even have a coffee plant in there, so that we put a coffee plant in there with the shade. So there's a coffee there. Things like that. Cocoa has all its pollinators, the little sandflies that pollinate cocoa. So again, you have to have those in the system.
This farm also attracts the stable palm.
Right. So there's different types of palms. There's the palmies.
This is marigold?
Those are cosmos. So it's family to marigold,
Okay.
but it's not as strong as smell.
Okay.
And those grow by seed very easy. So if you want some, whatever seeding around here, I can just give you some seeds.
Okay.
Yeah, so this is the Pakistaki here. There's different varieties. So this one's a yellow upright one, and then you get a red one that tends to ramble. That just kind of falls down, it doesn't go up straight. Most of these are just by cutting. So all of these we've actually propagated here and then we've put them in. Okay? And we'll just take a little walk down on this side. The two local vervines is this one and this one, and they grow slightly differently, and you'll see the flowers on them. These ones tend to be like a light purple, and then these ones tend to be a darker purple. And then there's other local what are called weeds in here. Thank you. That we've just collected, or Dan and Shane collected and just brought for us. Things like this. So this is just a local weed. There's what are called the roadside daisies. So like these ones here and here, but they're just not flowering right now just because of the rain.
With the yellow, tiny white flower.
Yeah, it's like the white flower with yellow inside. Railway daisies. Yep. All right. So again, for nectar as well as pollen, you choose the correct plants. Along the edge there, we have what is called the, I think, roadside daisy. No, it's the yellow flower. Graveyard daisy, right? It tends to just keep covering the ground. It makes a good ground cover. Again, just because of the rain, not too much is flowering. Is there a flower there?
No, there's a bud on it, but I'm just showing the leaf.
This open.
You see the leaf, right? And it has a yellow flower.
Monarch butterflies like
Vidilia trilobata.
they're the pods that come up that have the seeds. These pods just open.
Yeah, I left it before.
Right. So they have this like a fine silk that normally has a seed on it that helps disperse it. So once the pod opens, it just spreads everywhere. So again, when you're setting up a pollinator garden, you can just collect seeds and sprinkle them in an area that you're not going to whacker. All right, because the whacker man tends to be the man that then takes down your pollinator garden. But having these mix of things. This plant over here is, I believe it's indigenous. It's a type of canna lily.
Oh, that's a nice one. I've got a red one like that. But
It likes very wet conditions. I did not plant it here, it just came up. I don't know why. It was very swampy here when we first set up the garden. So a bird or something must have brought a seed that dropped here. So this I'm going to dig up and put into the wetlands that we have over there. Right, but again, it is a pretty flower.
yes, because the old-fashioned canna lilies, they've got
Yes.
the one with the
Yeah,
local
it
pollen.
looks like the
and
old-fashioned
nectar.
color where
Yeah.
you would put in a calabash and make a shack.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
it's growing
have to
very
see-
prolific.
So we have the old-fashioned cannas planted along the bed for
The red.
with the red.
plant,
Yeah.
They seed themselves everywhere.
This again is another local, in a way, weed,
Yeah.
but it always has a lot of life around it. So we actually planted this in here, and it's just spreading in this area. Even these, they hold a lot of moisture in these. It's like a type of water grass almost.
You planted this black sage here?
No, so the black sage
So,
came up on its own.
Cordial.
So again, even the
Sensitive.
sensitive plant,
Yeah, mimosa.
that has a little purple flower on it,
Yeah,
and that attracts different types of things. So we leave those in.
yeah.
You'll notice that sometimes the fancier plants like these, the bachak took everything, but some of the other indigenous plants, when you have them in these sites, they're kind of tolerant to the bachak.
These are the ones making all the holes. I have them in my garden.
This is a verbine again. Yeah, so this is a verbine we put there. This is just a penta. So these you can buy just in the flower shops everywhere, in the garden shops. They're pentas. We did plant a lot of these ones here. I'm just forgetting the name now. Lantanas. But again, just because it's been so rainy, they just have not
Lantana.
done well.
I've noticed this in the last week because it hasn't been so much rain. My lantanas are suddenly like blooming
Right.
like crazy. Yeah.
Biodegradable plate. Suhari leaf. Yeah.
Yeah, this,
Yeah.
for people that don't know, this is suhari.
Suhari leaf.
Alright,
Kalati.
so again, that just came up in there. I have to
Yeah.
dig it out at
Very-
some point. We have random eddos all over the farm. You put one eddo down and then you dig it up and you get little ones left over and they get spread out everywhere.
Nice
so,
leaves.
so again, whenever the dry season comes around, we just dig up the eddos randomly everywhere and you actually get some really big ones as well. Right? Like this one,
Wow.
like a dasheen almost. And when we dig that up, it's nice and soft. Right? So again, this whole area, it gets a lot more afternoon sun, tends to be hotter. And then this area now is more the shadier areas where we put in again the firecracker, fire spike, and the kakistaki. It has different types of gingers. It has some of the cocoa lilies. So in cocoa estates you get the plants with the red flowers. So that's these ones. Yeah, none are flowering right now. But
That's not the
they
red
get
packet
quite
stuff,
tall.
is it?
Yes, so
Yeah.
there's one over here that's
Different type
flowering.
of packet
But I believe these ones tend to be indigenous.
Yeah. We see those in the
The
forest.
indigenous one.
this-
Though it's red, the common name is like black stick.
Black stick.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Pachystachys
Yeah.
coccinea. Yeah, I don't know why they call it black. And behind is that you planted that years ago, silk cotton.
Yeah, so this silk cotton just came up by seed.
Yeah, silk
Um,
cotton.
we actually planted these palms and some of these bigger trees over here
There's
25 years
other
ago.
bigger tree here, the fruit is edible. It's called boredom. Guadpuma olmifolia, that large one there. Pigeon tree.
And then if you look further back, the big tree next to the palms there, that is fiddlewood.
Yeah.
That when it's flowering, it's completely purple and there's a lot of insects, pollinators that will go to the fiddlewood. The one next to the fiddlewood is the lele. Again, when that's flowering, it has all kinds of pollinators on it. You can hear a buzz around it all the time. Those types of trees are really good if you have the space. So we've just left them in.
So here's your bat tree here then.
Yes, so this is our bat tree. There will be bats that will go and hide up in there. Sometimes there will be rats. But also like that royal palm over there is going to die. You can see all the leaves are drying on it. Every so often they die. And the whole stem will become hollow. And sometimes the first stage is normally you will get parrots that will go nest in there. And then after the parrots are done, sometimes you'll get bats that nest in there. And then eventually it'll fall down. So it has, and then you'll get lots of woodpeckers that show up on it as well. Right? So again, even a dead tree in your environment can be benefiting a lot of other wildlife just by it being there. And then when it falls down, it can also benefit lots of other things as well. Right? So
There's a program in the UK about encouraging wildlife, and they said that the problem is often that they clear out too much of the dead trees, so that all these other functions after it's died are lost, and it actually means a lot of species move away because they haven't got anywhere to nest or anything. Yeah.
even a tree that's covered in vines, I know most people don't want their trees covered in vines, but if there is what we call sacrificial trees that you just leave covered in vines, you will see that there is so much life within those vines on that tree. Like you'll find all types of pollinators, all types of lizards, you'll find all types of wasp nests, birds nests, just in one tree that's covered in vines. So it's not great visually for most people in their gardens, but in a space like this, occasionally we do leave trees that will just cover up in vines.
A lot of the
For that
vines
reason.
there would a lot of birds would take a little respite
Yes.
inside the vines there. So you know.
So, any questions? So again, we are on clay. How I built these beds is I brought in sand, a little bit of topsoil, some sharp sand, And for about a year, we'd been collecting coconut husks from a vendor. So we have this big pile of coconut husks that we mixed in with the sand and the soil. And then we put all of these, so all of these are raised beds on top of the clay, which is more sandy soil. But the results you get a lot better, and the plants tend to survive in these conditions better than just in the straight clay. When it's straight clay, once the dry season comes around, the clay dries out so quickly that you tend to lose a lot of plants at that point, no matter how much water you put on them. The clay just doesn't hold that much, especially when it's dry and windy. Okay? Any questions? No? We good? Back to class.